So the new Breach Refine patch is out, and a lot of things have changed. This is just a quick video to let you know what's coming up. Now, I've been a little bit busy with real-life stuff, mostly work, and I'll be working over this weekend as well, so I didn't have a lot of time to test everything, but I still managed to put in a few more hours to check out some of the changes. A lot of you have been asking about the builds I made before, and whether they're still effective in the new patch. I can confidently say yes. Most of my builds don't use the Ring of Determination, which got heavily nerfed, so you won't see big changes in how those builds perform. Now, not all builds will be as strong as before, but will still do an amazing job at what they do. For example, the ice builds are still great, even though they do a bit less damage now because of the reduced armor reduction when you shatter enemies. On the bright side, focus gain has been increased, which means you can use your runes more often. Lifesteal has been slightly nerfed, but healing increase has been improved. So if you have a lot of healing increase on your gear, your lifesteal builds will still be just as effective. Unfortunately, one build is completely different now and will not be working as before, and that is the Green Knight build that uses the one-handed curved sword, Fileter. Firstly, the attack animations have changed completely, and the worst part is that it doesn't have charge attacks anymore. The whole gear setup was made around the charge attacks of the weapon, but now since the weapon doesn't have charge, it will not work the same. The weapon is still amazing, and I might do a different type of build using it. Now, I'm also happy to say that the Death Knight charge build is incredibly overpowered now, mostly because they fixed and balanced all the effects. I've also tested the health drain in Combat Plague downside, and it's still worth having as it's almost non-existent. So any build that uses Plague, you can try to re-roll to get that downside. I still need to test the focus and health regeneration and see how that works now, but it's going to take a while as I really want to take my time and test everything. I started a new realm with a brand new character, as I really want to explore everything they've added. I want to see if it's easier to get materials and gems now. Do I still need to jump into other realms to buy them from Greenwich, or can everything be found in the same realm? Basically, I want to see if it's more convenient now. I'm also going to be playing on the hardest difficulty. They've introduced 3 difficulty modes. An easy mode where enemies do less damage and have less health, a normal mode like the one we were playing so far, and a harder mode where enemies have more health and do more damage. Personally, I'm not a big fan of just increasing enemy health and damage as a way to make things harder. I think it's better to make enemies more aggressive or give them new movesets, but I can honestly say that it's good to be wrong. The game actually feels different. Yes, the enemies have more damage and more health, but for some reason, it feels like they are also more relentless. I think it's because of the increased poise the enemies have that makes them more aggressive and scarier. But at the same time, the experience is so much better. Like, I literally got to Sacrament at level 9 in around 1 hour of just exploring the first area. You get so much more experience in the path of the unspoken difficulty. So far, 3 hours into the new game, and it's definitely a blast. The game actually feels very good to play now. The lock onto enemies is the only thing that still feels bugged. It works well against one enemy, but when there are more of them, it still feels janky. I'm also confident to say that the best and easiest build anyone can go for in the early stages of the game is the bow with a wand. Both of them give you range attacks that use stamina that also generate focus, and then you can spam your rune attacks. Another huge thing I want to mention is that whoever came up with the idea of utility runes is a goddamn genius. I don't need to use any food consumables. I just heal using the rune all the time. It's low cost and incredibly fast to cast. Again, bow and wand, and you will feel like an unstoppable god. And if you do get hit, just use your healing utility rune. I literally got to Sacrament in the first hour with over 100 mushroom soup, as I didn't use any of them. Also, the bow now has a type of charge attack, and most of you at first will feel the need to keep charging the attack to get the maximum damage, but you don't have to. If you see an enemy getting close to you and feel like you won't fully charge that attack, release it and dodge. You will still shoot the enemy if it's closer, and even if you do less damage, it's still decent damage, and you're able to efficiently kite enemies. I've also encountered a few small bugs, but nothing too groundbreaking. I've also found this annoying blurring when enemies move away from you, like it's blurring the entire screen. The new farming mechanic, where you time your hits to land critical strikes on resources, is actually quite satisfying. However, it quickly starts to feel unnecessarily complicated. You can get a perfect hit, a good hit, a late hit, or an early hit. But here's the confusing part. The amount of resources you get doesn't always line up with how well you perform. Sometimes I land multiple perfect hits and still end up with just one resource. Other times I mess up nearly every swing, getting early or late hits, and somehow walk away with two. I've even had cases where I hit good at the start, finish with an early hit, and still get two resources. It just feels completely inconsistent. If the game wants to reward skillful timing, then the system needs to reflect that clearly. It would make much more sense if perfect hits immediately granted extra resources, or if getting several perfect hits in a row scaled your reward to maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 resources. At the very least, a strong start shouldn't be completely negated by a single bad hit at the end. Right now, it's hard to tell what actually influences your reward. The mechanic itself has potential, but the logic behind the resource payout feels messy. It definitely needs some rebalancing to make it feel fair, consistent, and truly rewarding. Now, there's another issue I can't seem to figure out. According to the patch notes, the Seneschal vendor menu is supposed to have fallen embers, but I can't find any at all. To make sure it wasn't some leftover bug from previous patch realms, I even started a new character in a new realm just to check. And nope, still no embers. I understand it might be RNG based, but I've already visited 5 realms just to test this. If there were a consistent way to find embers, it would really help with getting into crafting builds early on. I've also played through the new quest introduced by Eleanor, and honestly, without going into too much spoiler, it's another brilliant example of how Moon Studios is using quests not just for content, but as a smart way to teach you the core mechanics of the game through storytelling. It's only a single quest, but the atmosphere, the tone, and the way it draws you in are absolutely fantastic. There's this subtle emotional weight to it that sticks with you, and it shows just how capable the developers are of crafting meaningful narratives that go beyond fetch tasks or combat challenges. This one quest alone proves that Moon Studios has the potential to deliver deep, memorable side content that could seriously elevate the entire experience of No Rest for the Wicked. The problem is, there just aren't enough of them. We need more side quests like this, immersive, lore-rich, and character-driven. I don't even care if they're short, as long as they maintain this level of detail and emotional depth. Adding more of these would make the world feel more alive, deepen the lore, and give players something to truly care about beyond loot and builds. It's this kind of storytelling that gives a game its soul, and I hope the developers lean into it even more in future updates. Quests like this don't just enrich the experience, they also make the game more appealing to a wider audience. This type of content has the potential to make No Rest for the Wicked more popular, and attract even more players to it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to keep testing everything, and I'll give you a full, honest review of the Breach Refined patch once I've had more time with it. But from what I've played so far, this feels like the most polished version of the game the developers have released to date. So if you were holding back on the game, I think this is a good time to try it out. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, maybe consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.